Hi Flosstube, this is Catherine at the Blue Box Stitcher, and this is my first Flosstube Extra. And today I'm going to be going over my 2025 cross stitch plans. I'm very excited about them. Obviously, the new year has already started, so I've started implementing these already. And I'm really excited about them. I know that a lot of the country, if you live in the US, is under snow right now, and everyone's getting their stitchy snow days in. So unfortunately, I live in Texas, so that's not happening. But it is kind of cold here for once. So I have my tea with me. I have my journal with my plans. So if you want to grab a cup of tea yourself, a cup of coffee, maybe some stitching, and follow along, I hope you have a nice cozy time here. I'm so obsessed with this mug. I got it from Target. I have a bit of a mug collection. Here, I'll put it well, no, that looks kind of weird. It's going over there. I have a notion that I'm very excited about for this year. I use Stitchy Nadia, her template. I bought it and I love it, but I will say I don't really understand how Notion works. It kind of hurts my brain. I've tried to get into Notion a few times over the years. So even though I do use Notion to track my cross stitch, I also have my journal with my plans on it. So I'll just be referring to it. But also, I don't think I'm going to use this setup going forward. I really want to film in front of my desk, which has all my books and stuff, but honestly, it's just really messy right now. And I need to clean it, and I need to figure out the lighting in my room. One thing about this house is that, everyone can see into it, and so there's a big construction site next door. So everyone can see into our house, so our shades are always closed. Half of our light bulbs are out because we are fulfilling the stereotype of 3 girls in a house who don't know how to change a light bulb. I don't know what kind of light bulbs are in the ceiling lights. Anyway, so there's just not a lot of good places with good light, so I'm kind of figuring it out now that I'm back in Austin. But hopefully this works just for a plans video. So yeah, let's get into it. I think first I'll go over all the starts that I want to do in 2025. I cannot believe it's already 2025. That's crazy. And then I'll go into whips, and then I thought it might be fun at the end just to go over some of my other New Year's resolutions for my other life stuff. And then maybe if you guys have any New Year's resolutions, I know not everyone is into that. I'm into a very reevaluating your life and making plans for the new year, but not necessarily doing them hardcore. Just more of a time of reflection. But I know not everyone is into that. But if you are, maybe you could drop your New Year's resolutions down below, or at least your stitchy plans. So first, I have a list of starts that I want to do this year. I think this is kind of my year of big ass starts. I've already started 2 really, really big projects, and I have a few more that I want to start this year. I guess I'll say first is that my vibe going into this year is I want to be no deadlines, only vibes. Because I learned a lot about what I like to stitch on and what I want my stitching time to be like last year in 2024. I right now have been stitching for 2 years, but it's definitely been kind of on and off, especially last year. I got a concussion literally a year ago, and so that really hindered my stitching. And so I feel last year has really made me realize what I want to be spending my time on when it comes to my stitching. And I spent a lot of time last year working on presents for other people, and I don't want to do that anymore. I love that I was able to create these things and give them to my friends and family, and it makes me really happy. But at the same time, I kind of want my stitching this year to be for me. I realize that deadlines really stress me out when it comes to my stitching, and it makes me want to not stitch on things anymore. And so I'm like still trying to figure out where I fall in the progress versus process stitcher. I think for a while I thought I was a progress stitcher, like I stitch to have stitching on my walls or to give people stitching, but I think I've realized that like I don't think that's necessarily the case for me because one, I don't stitch very fast, and so it kind of stresses me out to be like, well, I have this like finite amount of stitches that I can get done, and I need to get them done by this time. That's something that I did not particularly enjoy about like making presents for people, especially because I have chronic pain, and so I'm not really someone who can be like, oh my god, I need to finish this. I'm gonna whip out 300, 500, 1,000 stitches today. I'm just gonna sit down and do it. I would love that life, but the shoulder, she does not love that life. And so I really think I want to focus more on the process of stitching and just stitching on things that bring me joy and really enjoying being in the moment. Stitching is really good for my mental health. I want to focus on that aspect more. And so I don't want any deadlines. Well, I say that. I guess I do have like maybe one. But in general, I just want to stitch on things that I love, but I do want to make like good progress on things. That is to say, like, I like love watching whip parades with like 10,000 whips, and I think that's so cool, and I'm kind of jealous of those people who are able to do that, but I think that would just like stress me out. So I definitely do want to be like getting significant progress on things and feeling accomplished, but I don't necessarily think it's like all about the finish for me. So with that being said, I want to start a lot of things this year, but I do want to keep it to like, I don't want it to be an overwhelming amount of things, which is, I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed with my plans, so it's like to be determined, I guess, how this goes. Anyways, we're 7 minutes in, let's get into the first plan. My first plan is a birthday start. So my birthday is February 12th, and on my birthday, I am working that night, but I don't have anything going on during the day, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so what I think I want to do, it's my first year in Austin, and so I really want to like do something fun for my birthday. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to drive down to San Antonio, and there's a couple of stitchy shops there. I don't remember the names of them, but I'll put them in the description. I've never been to any of them. San Antonio is about an hour from here, and so I think it would be really fun to like make a day out of it, go to a stitching shop in San Antonio, and then San Antonio also has a zoo, and they have a baby capybara, and I'm going to be there. So I thought that'd be really fun for my birthday. And so essentially my birthday start, this is the only start that I don't have like planned. Because like I said, I am starting a lot of big projects this year. So I'm not necessarily interested in starting like a big birthday start. I have a couple of ideas. I could do, I really love the Nature Walk patterns by Sprouting Lupine, and there's a like rainy day one. I'll insert a picture of all the stuff that I don't have patterns for. But I really love that pattern, so that is a potential start. I've always loved the tiny towns. Tiny town could be a potential start. If I'm feeling overwhelmed with my plans, I could also just kit up an existing project that I already have. Some of my projects are not fully kitted, and so I could do that. And that's kind of a to be determined where the wind takes me. I'm very excited about it. I think I'll make like a little vlog about going to the store, and I think it should be really fun. That brings me to my next start, which is in May. The cross stitch girlies do a Manning May. They have for the past couple years, and I love Carolyn Manning's charts so much, and I have always kind of longingly looked at them and I've decided this year is the year I'm starting one. She has some like full coverage geometric patterns that I do think are really beautiful, and honestly, I don't think the pictures on her site do them justice, because I've like watched people on Flosstube stitch them for Manning May, and I've been like, actually, that's incredible. That's beautiful. But I'm not sure if it's my vibe, and also they're so much stitching. And so what I really want to do, it's still really big. I actually am not totally sure how big it is because I haven't bought it yet, but it's Garden Secrets by Caroline Manning, and I'll pop a picture up here, but it really reminds me of like the tile work that you would find in gardens. And I love tile work. I love like geometric, especially like kind of like Muslim architecture tile work that they have that are very geometric patterns. Like I went to the Alhambra in Spain, that was full of it. It was so gorgeous. And so it kind of reminds me of like the tiles that you would find in a very lush garden. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. And so I'm planning on starting it in Manning May. Then my next start is for Nora November, and I really want to start Fern by Nora Corbett. I am fairly certain this woman is wearing pants. She could not be, but I'm pretty sure she is. And I love that. I've never seen like a Nora or a Mirabilia or a Lavender and Lace woman in pants. It's like not that deep, but I think she's super cool. She's super fun. I also really like the mushroom lady that she has. But I think I want to start Fern for Nora November. And yeah, I think she's super beautiful. I like go back and forth on the Mirabilias because I do think they're really beautiful, but they're real skinny. And I don't have like an interest in having a bunch of skinny ladies on my walls, especially because they're gonna take me a really long time to stitch. And so like I could try to just like add some rows of stitching and make them look, you know, a little more voluptuous, but honestly, I'm not a cross stitch designer. I don't know how to do that. But I think Fern looks good. She's got pants. She's got like billowy fabric, so you don't really know what's going on under there. And I'm really obsessed with her. And honestly, I do think Mirabilia and Nora Corbett, like she is a fantastic designer. I just think she could have some more curvy ladies. Moonglow is another one that I love to pieces, but backstitch scares me. Also that rug just feels like I would get stuck in it for 1,000 years. Those are my two like planned starts. I have some possible intentions about doing some starts for my parents on their birthdays. But that's like if I feel like it, to be honest. Like I will eventually stitch them a gift, but I'm not super interested in stitching gifts this year, and so that's more of like a if I want to, I will. And that's later in the year. The other two starts that I have planned is the Doctor Who Pillow Sampler by Clouds Factory. So obviously my channel name is the Blue Black Stitcher, and that's after the Doctor's Little Blue Box. And I was like, well, if I have a cross stitch channel, I think I need like a cross stitch channel named after Doctor Who. I think I need a Doctor Who cross stitch. And so that really enabled me to buy and kit up a 11,000 stitch Doctor Who pattern, which is kind of crazy and kind of stresses me out to think about it, but no vibes, or no deadlines, only vibes. And I think it's really beautiful. I'll go into it more when I do start it on like the materials and fabric that I'm using, but I got to, I want to say color and cotton threads and some like really nice gold fabric from Picture This Plus. I went to In Stitches, which is in Alexandria, and that's like my local LNS at my home in DC. And I went with my mom, and it was super fun. So I'm really excited to start that. I know that some people on I don't know why I keep trying to say Flosstube. I know some people on Flosstube, especially the girlies, will do like a stitch along where you like pick a show and then stitch to the show. So I know like the cross stitch girlies are doing Peaky Blinders. And then every time you watch Peaky Blinders, you stitch on it. And then I think there have also been other iterations around Flosstube of like watching the Great British Baking Show and stitching, or I think there was like a Survivor one. That idea seems really fun. So I think what I want to do, especially because this one, I don't have like, I don't know. I'm kind of like trying to see where it fits in with my other plans because it was kind of a spur of the moment purchase. Is I think what I want to do is I've seen all of Doctor Who. I watched it with my best friend in college, and we literally finished the entire show up to that point, like the week before we graduated, and we cried. Doctor Who means a lot to me, and so I have been thinking of starting and watching it from the beginning. New Who. I really love to read the Target paperbacks, but the old series is kind of hard to watch sometimes because some of it's in black and white, and then also it's just like slow. So I've been thinking about going back, starting with Christopher Eccleston and rewatching it, and then stitching along with my rewatch. I think would be super fun, and just like no plans on like how much stitching I want to get done or when I want to finish it. Obviously I'd like it on my wall someday, but I think that would be really fun. I really need to watch the Christmas special. I'm very excited about it. And then my last one, kind of random, is just a little one. My last art is Nailed It by Fine Frog Stitching. I love ocean animals, marine animals. I wanted to be a marine biologist growing up. And I have plans to stitch a bunch of like little ocean creatures and put them surrounding like a mermaid. And that's kind of like a ongoing plan. So I've already stitched a cuttlefish by Bad Stitch, I want to say. It'll be in the description. And it's not available anymore, unfortunately. It was for Trans Day Visibility, and it was in the trans colors, and it was beautiful. So next on my list is Nailed It. And I love Nailed It because I think it's like kind of accidentally in the lesbian flag colors, so it very much fits the theme. And I already own it. It's only like 900 stitches. I am stitching them on 18 count, which is harder. I'm normally a 16 count kind of gal, but I want to finish that at some point this year. And so like if for my birthday I just want to start something really small that I already own and is already kitted up, then I could start Nailed It. But yeah, that's what I want to do. And then the third sea animal that I want to stitch is this seal, also from Bad Stitch. I don't know. I'm gonna put the picture up. It's so fat and I love it. It could be this year, it could be next year. I'm not super pressed about it. And then, so those are the starts that I want to do for this year. I know to some other people they may not seem like a lot, but this is the first time I've ever started like really big projects, and I'm really like a day by day kind of person. I kind of take things day by day. And so the thought of like picking a cross stitch project to start and work on for the next like 2, 3, 4, 5 years is a little bit intimidating to me. And part of me is like, well, what if I don't like cross stitch in 4 years? Which I don't think is gonna happen. But I think it's something that also comes along with chronic illness, because you have the knowledge that like something that you want to do or like to do is not always in your control of whether or not you can do it. Thankfully mine is managed very well, but I think because of that I'm much more of a day-by-day person, which is, anyway, that's kind of a personal tangent. Maybe relate. And but what I mean to say is sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating thinking about the future and making plans for it. but these are projects that I really, really love, and honestly, there's not that many of them, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do for Fern, but at least for Carolyn Manning, like I do plan on kitting it up in DMC, and so there's not like a huge financial cost to it, and so I'm kind of like, I'm just going to start them and work on them and enjoy them, and what happens, happens. So I'm very excited. And then that brings us to my whips. So I already have 2 major starts. One that I started after Christmas. It's in my ragtag quilt art bag. That is super cute. And it is, oh, I actually have the picture in here too. I'll just show the picture. Oh, it's kind of crumpled. But it is Spring Night by Luca-S. I think it's so beautiful. This is definitely something I picked out when I was like, I want this on my wall. I think a lot of full coverages look really cute and fun. A lot of them are not necessarily my style, although lately I have been like, oh, I want to stitch a cottage. But this is something where I was like, this would be like the focal point of my wall, and it would be such an accomplishment. And I know I picked right because when I showed it to my brother, he was like, that's giving Sturdy Valley vibes. And I said, exactly. Exactly. So I'll go more into it in my next Flosstube, but this is what I have so far, and it's my first full coverage kit I've ever done. She's so beautiful. In my inner tube. Also, I think I left all my needle minders at home. This is like the only one I have right now, which is really unfortunate. I don't really know what to do about that, but I love her. I don't know why. I'm just like, I've made so much progress looking at it in the camera, even though I look at it in person and I'm like, that's nothing. I think I'm at like 2% or something, but this is obviously the first full coverage I've ever started. It's 150 by 150, so that would mean that it has 25,000 stitches, because it is full coverage. However, one of the reasons that I picked Luca-S is that you can email them and be like, I purchased this kit, here's my proof of purchase, can you send me the PDF? And because I'm not a paper stitcher, I don't like stitching on paper. I have very few patterns where I do that, and something like this I could never stitch on paper. The PDF they sent me, I put it into markup and it says it has 22,500 stitches. So that's like the number I'm going off of right now. I figure it doesn't really matter until I get to the end. Like I started in the middle to make sure I had enough margin. And I'm just gonna keep going until I feel like there's something off. But hopefully there's nothing off. Yeah, I don't really know. I might honestly put it on the cross stitch subreddit and be like, has anyone had this issue? But this is, like I said, this is my first full coverage. It's very intimidating. I feel like sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I love you. I love you so much. And then other times I feel kind of defeated and I'm like, what is the point of even stitching on this when I could be stitching on something that I could reasonably finish in the next 2 years, where this is going to take me 5,000 years? And so I was kind of thinking about that, and because even though I don't have deadlines for any of my projects, I do want to make reasonable progress on them. Like I, start things to work on them. And so what I decided to do with this is I'm doing full coverage Friday. So every Friday I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to work on it for however much I want to work on it. Hopefully maybe like 100 stitches or something is normally how much I would get in like 1 or 2 stitchy sessions. And just kind of chip away at it throughout the year and hopefully see progress. Like I said, have no real plans on when I want to finish this, how much I want to do this year. I think just taking it out every Friday and slowly working on it will make it less intimidating and will show me that I can get progress on this, even though it is so big. And then I think at the end of the year, I will either continue to do that or I'll reevaluate and say I want to stitch more on it. and try to get it done faster, something like that. But that's my plan for this. I will also say all of my plans I plan to reevaluate in June. Like, I plan to kind of check in on them in June and see, like, if I like what I'm doing, if I want to switch it up, if I want to focus on different projects, if I don't want to start anything in the second half of 2025, because I just want to work on the stuff that I have, etc. So these are all kind of, they're like sort of 6-month plans. They're plans for the year, but they are to be evaluated in June. But yeah, I love her. And then, so my next one is the 2024 Stitch for Pride by Dee 20 Stitches. And it was a stitch along last year where it's 12 different patterns, basically, each that are, what's the word inspired by a different queer or trans artist. And you can put all 12 patterns, each pattern came out for every month of last year, and then you can put all 12 patterns together and make like a spot sampler. And I'm doing the spot sampler. What happened was it was only open for like 3 weeks or something in December of 2023. I did not purchase it because it seemed like huge and I didn't know what the pattern was going to look like. I don't really do sals because I think they're super fun, but I am a pretty slow stitcher, and so I kind of want to know what the end piece is going to look like before I decide to buy it and start it, and know that it's worth my time. So I didn't buy it. Then I saw everyone stitching it, and it is so beautiful, and every piece comes with a learning module about the artist, which is so cool. And I was green with envy. I was like, I need it. And in June, Dee actually opened the sale again for like a few days to help with their top surgery, and I bought it immediately. And then I did not start it because I was just working on other things. And so I decided that I'm going to do it this year. So I'm going to do the 2024 Stitch for Pride in 2025. I know there is one going on this year, and it honestly looks great. I think it's on like significant trans figures through history, which looks incredible. The first one came out and it looks super cool already, but I like need to do this one before I decide to do any other ones. And then also I've been like trying to get more into art recently. And so I thought this was a very cool intersection of what I've been wanting to get into. This is going to be kind of my focus project for this year. So when I say like my goal this year is no deadlines, only vibes, it's kind of excluding this, depending on how I'm feeling. This is something that I looked at and I said, screw everything else. This is what I want on my wall. So this out of all of my pieces is like I will enjoy stitching on this, but this is something that I want on my wall. I want people to look at it. I want people to ask about it. I want to look at it every day. And so this is one that I'm like most motivated to get on my wall. It is about 13,000 stitches, which is, I don't know, 3 times the size of the largest project that I've finished. So that is really intimidating. And so I have I'll show you my start. I started it a couple days ago, and this is 2 days of stitching. It's like this. So I'm just working on this top pattern right here. I'll pop a picture. Well, I'm not going to pop a picture up of the finished sampler because Dee like sent it to the framers, and I don't think they've received it back, so I don't want to post like a random picture of someone else's. But when they eventually post, like, you could just go to their Instagram and look at it. I think it's Dee 20 Stitches. But this is January. It's inspired by Keith Haring, who's actually one of the artists that I did recognize. And I'm pretty sure he did the artwork for Best Buddies, which I had some friends in college or high school. But I think this is super beautiful. You cannot tell in any way whatsoever on camera, and honestly it's kind of hard to tell in person, but this is It's like not that hard to tell in person, maybe. I don't know. But this is Baby Blanket by Classic Colorworks, and it was so much darker in the picture. It looks white in reality. But it's supposed to be like kind of a white base and very pastel-y rainbow, which depending on the lighting you can or cannot see. I've decided that I like it, mainly because I don't have any other options. I've decided that I like it. I do like it. Like, I'm looking at it now and I can see the variegation and I'm like, actually, that does look really cool. Part of me wishes that I'd just gone with blue, but I am very excited about this. Yeah, so I'll just hold it up while I talk about my potential plans. Anyway, so this one I've been really thinking about. I have a tendency to overthink, and that's also something that I don't really want to do with my cross stitch. I want to hyperfixate on the stitching, not on, I don't want to like overthink, like, will I be able to ever get this done? That kind of thing. I'm very neurotic in the rest of my life. I don't need to be with my stitching. And so I think this month is kind of going to be a test for how the rest of the year is going to go and my plans for it, where I'm going to see how long it's going to take me to do this first pattern. I will say it's definitely been like a bit of a learning curve because this is 16 count Black Ada by Zweigart, and it's not my favorite. I stitched on a really dark piece of fabric for my brother's present last year, and I thought I had really no trouble stitching on that. I don't see why Black Ada would be any different. Black Ada is harder to stitch on. That being said, I don't think it's that difficult. I think you just need to have like a white background below it so that you can see the individual holes. I don't know, I'm worried that the fabric doesn't look that good because it's just black Zweigart, but at the same time, when I have this like framed in on my wall, I don't think anyone's gonna be like putting a magnifying glass over it and being like, that's not hand-dyed fabric. In general, I do prefer to stitch on hand-dyed fabric because I find it makes it softer, which makes it easier to stitch on for me. I thought about putting this in boiling water to get the starch out, and then I decided that was too much work and I really wanted to start it, so I did. And I started it with like a thread that's not color fast, so now I can't do that, and I'm kind of wondering if I should have. I don't think it's that. I think my plan is I'm gonna get a smaller needle and a needle threader because it is like a variegated thread. I can't stitch Danish and I can't loop start. Which means that I can't, normally when I thread my needles, I like bend the thread in half and then put the loop through the needle. And I can't do that with this, obviously, because I'm just using 2 strands. And I find that much more difficult to thread, so I am using a larger needle. I also lost all my smaller needles. I don't know how you lose like 5 needles, but I did. And all my needle minders. Yeah, so I'm using this needle right now. She's kind of chunky. I think she might be like 28 or something. I just found her in my needle box. And it's like fine, but I think it would be easier with a smaller needle. So I'm gonna get a smaller needle and a needle minder and see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be like kind of more enjoyable because this is my focus project. So I want it to be like an enjoyable stitching experience. And right now I feel kind of stressed about the size of needle that I have and the color that I picked and whether or not I should have boiled this fabric. But I also think it's one of those things where you just need to get started and you need to work on it and make it less intimidating. My plans for it, I would like to have it done by the end of the year. That's my one deadline that I'm loosely setting for myself. If I decide that it's too stressful to have a deadline or that I don't think it's realistic to hit that deadline, then I won't. But right now, I would like to have it done by the end of the year. I'm of 2 minds when it comes to how to go about that. One is I could just follow the stitch along into each piece month by month. The other is I know some people are talking about picking a project and just doing 30 minutes a day on it. That's also something that I could do because typically when I stitch, I'll stitch about an hour. So I could do that. Or I could stitch on it when I feel like it and see how far that gets me. So right now I'm kind of going to stitch this first January pattern and see how long it takes me and reevaluate my plans based on that. So yeah, 2024, Stitch for Pride. Had some struggles in the beginning, but I am excited about her. And then my only other like plan per se is I have a Dimensions kit that's just a wizard. I'll put it up. I have like a few strands in it. And that's my D&D stitch. So I typically do I try to do D&D once a week. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Scheduling is hard. But that's my D&D stitch, and so I stitch on it when we're playing D&D, and that's my only plan for it. It's on 14 count. It's pretty easy. It does have a paper pattern, which I hate. But then I tried to put it in a markup, and it didn't really work just by taking a picture. So I could go to the library and scan it, or I could just like try to do the paper pattern and highlight it. I'm not one of those people who can look at a paper pattern and just not mark on it. I try to do that for this other pattern that I have that was a magic needle kit. And I did not mark on it, mostly because the paper was kind of shellacky. And so you can't really mark it, and I'm so lost. I'm 3/4 of the way through. I'm so close, and I don't want to pick it up because I have no idea where I am in the pattern. So I'm really a PDF into markup RXP girly. And then, yeah, the rest of it is presumably you've seen my WIT parade. I have other projects, and I plan to work on them. I plan to get progress on them, but I don't have any set timelines for them or anything like that. I'm just gonna kind of pick them up when I want to. So those are my stitchy plans for 2025. I really rambled quite a bit for plans that are not that extensive, but I'm super excited about them. I'm really excited just for this year and to kind of see how much I can cross stitch and how much I can accomplish when I put my mind to it and when I decide that this is a hobby that gives me a lot of joy and I want to dedicate more time to it. I think it'll be really interesting to see how it goes. But I'm really excited, and I'm excited to track it in Notion and see where it takes me. So those are my 2025 cross-stitch plans. I thought it'd be fun to add just a couple other New Year's resolutions at the end here. Just so we can all kind of get to know each other a little bit more. This is only my second video. My main New Year's resolution for this year is to just be more intentional with my time. I really want, when I have days off, or if I have a half day off or something like that, to make sure that I'm not just lying in bed watching TikTok, to do things that make me feel good. And sometimes that's doing laundry. And sometimes that's trying out a new coffee shop, and sometimes that's cross stitching. So that's my big plan for the next year. I have some plans on how to accomplish that, but I'm excited to just try to be more intentional with the things that I do. And another one is I have a list of 25 books that I want to read in 2025. I'm a pretty big reader, but it definitely slumped a lot last year. I only read 39 books last year, which is the lowest I've read in a few years. Normally I read around 60 books a year, 50 to 60. And so this year I decided that I wanted to be a little bit more intentional. Or just like, I have a lot of books that I want to read, and I have a lot of physical books on my TBR that I have on my shelves. I have a lot of books that I've checked out from the library that I want to read, and typically I am a mood reader, so I just pick up a book that I want to read when I want to read it. But I do think I could use like a little bit more direction in my reading, and hopefully like read more of the books that I want to read. So I've made a list of 25 books that I want to read in 2025. One of them is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. It's like 1,200 pages. It's the third in the Stormlight Archives, and I need to get back into it because I was reading the series like a couple years ago, and I was so into it, and then, I don't know, my finals came in college, and I put it down, and I never picked it back up for like 2 years. So I really want to get back into that. I love fantasy. I think it's called The Tainted Cup. I really want to read that. I want to read some classics. I want to read The Power and the Glory by Graham Greene. I read a lot of his books in high school. And read some books about hockey. I really want to read Stat Shot, which is all about hockey stats. I've had it for a few years, and I always say I'm going to read it, and then I don't open it. So this is the year I'm reading it. And I loosely want to read, like, now I'm thinking maybe it's 12 books in 2025. Because I think it's one book a month that I want to be like, I'm reading this month. It is 12 books in 2025. But I'm hoping to read about 50 books. We'll see. Those are my two main ones. I'd like to like explore my city a little bit more. I moved here in September, and so I'd like to get to know Austin a bit better. And yeah, those are my New Year's resolutions, cross-stitch and otherwise. I hope you guys had a fun time sitting down and watching this video. I hope wherever you are, whether it's snowing or I know there are some really terrible fires in LA right now. So I hope wherever you are, you're safe, you're cozy, you're having a good time, and you are having a good New Year. Bye!